Today, we become legends.
Hey, my name's Inter, welcome back to the channel, and I know I'm a little bit late on this, this actually came out last night, but I didn't realise it before I went to bed. We've got a MORDRED closer look for Smite 2, he's going to be the next god coming, the next completely new one anyway, which is super exciting. Obviously, I'm a big fan of basically all the Arthurian gods in Smite. I think they're all done really well. King Arthur is like pretty much my namesake at this point, other than Kuzenbo being my profile picture and intro. And so another Arthurian god, especially MORDRED, one of the more highly requested ones from the Pantheon. Now we just need Lady of the Lake, dude, and then it's pretty much complete at that point. There are a few others you could bring, you know, you could bring like Owain or some of the other knights or whatever, but I feel like MORDRED and Lady of the Lake would really like complete this Pantheon, and by getting MORDRED in Smite 2, this is probably going to be in the 24/7 alpha patch, I would imagine. So yeah, without further ado, let's jump in. So I think I've got some like artistic direction, they've got some ability info and all that kind of stuff in here. So he's going to be melee physical damage, strength intelligence hybrid with the high pressure and a very high mobility. So basically, they're not using class designations in Smite 2, which is a little bit weird, honestly, in my opinion, but he's going to be an assassin. That's going to be his like play style. Going to be melee physical, but he's also going to have strength and intelligence hybrid scaling, which I think does make a bit more sense for MORDRED, especially with the design they've gone for, visuals wise. So who is MORDRED? As the time passed and storytellers penned new works, the Arthurian tales continued to vary as their characters adapted, conflated, and changed. In some, MORDRED was depicted as the nephew of King Arthur, while in later variants described him as an illegitimate son instead. Regardless of his upbringing, MORDRED's tale always brought him to the same ending, the traitorous war for the crown and the brutal demise that followed. It may have been debated on whether MORDRED was kind and let his anger fester, or whether he had a cold heart from the start, but his skill on the battlefield was never questioned. In Smite 2, we picked up at the end of MORDRED's tale, but he is now back to write a new ending. His battle with King Arthur left him with a deadly affliction that he is now using to fuel his wrath and burning conviction. There is no redemption left, there is only the hunt to take down his prey and seize back his crown. So core theme, Dark Knight. We had a very strong vision of what MORDRED was going to look like from the get-go. King Arthur is the Arthurian protagonist, and we need to create the antagonist, the Dark Knight, in his story. MORDRED is clad in heavy armor, scarred grievously in his duels to the death with Arthur. Whether through dark magic or otherworldly means, MORDRED returns once more. His armor is ripped apart where the mortal blow took place, while his beating heart is affixed onto his cruel sword, Mourning. Supporting themes, wrath, ruthless leader, malevolent combat. MORDRED is more than a terrifying shadow in the night, he is truly a force of evil to be reckoned with. His past might have entertained methods and strategies to earn back the crown, but now he no longer cares for plots or ploys. He just has the driving goal of tearing apart anyone that stands in his way. MORDRED maintains his ruthless nature and wicked charisma, a king in his own right even without a crown. That being said, MORDRED is still a skilled knight. He loves an honorable duel up until he decides to end it with a stab in the back. So yeah, sounds like maybe from here at least, they're gonna go for maybe sort of like a warrior assassin hybrid style. You know, maybe he's gonna have a lot of assassin elements, for maybe a little bit of warrior elements as well, with the heavy armor and you know, honor and stuff like that. So moving on to the artistic process, MORDRED's themes felt strong, but what was harder to pinpoint was how to accomplish the goal of Dark Knight in a unique way that still felt true to who we believe MORDRED was by the end of his tale. Leaning into his wrathful and malevolent themes, MORDRED's artistic vision became clear as we developed his combative skill set and established how he would fight on the battlefield. Yeah, I guess there's kind of two ways you can go about that. You know, you can develop the artistic style and like lore and stuff like that first, and then build a kit around that, or you can build a kit that's fun and then kind of like warp the character's design a little bit around that. So it's like the initial concept of what they had for MORDRED, looking pretty cool. As mentioned, we wanted MORDRED to have a unique way of fighting that wasn't a complete mirror of King Arthur, even if they would purposefully share some themes. The idea of dual-wielding swords, letting MORDRED be more agile in combat, was a quick favourite, and let us really play with what those swords would actually look like and feel like in game. By having one larger and more cruel sword that focused on strength, and a second lighter swift sword that focused on intelligence, Mourning and Clarent were created and MORDRED was ready for battle. Interesting, so he has two different swords, one like massive one smaller one, and maybe like if some of his abilities scale off of intelligence, they'll use the smaller sword, and maybe his basic attacks and strength based abilities are going to use the larger sword, Mourning. And some really cool sword designs there. At this point, MORDRED had his attire and weapons, but he needed to do some soul searching. How did he want to approach the fight ahead? There were many ways to approach MORDRED's personality and attitude in fights, but once again we wanted to bring back the core theme of the Dark Knight. He is poised, an unquestionably skilled fighter, but he was also mortally defeated once, and that will not happen again. MORDRED is prepared and wary, but he is also willing to let his anger provide him the strength he needs to win by any means necessary. So these look like some kind of stances, maybe like movement a little bit, you know, how is he going to move around, how is he going to stand, all that kind of stuff. And then they have a sort of finalized like art direction design here. So he's got like the 2 different swords. He's got a little logo on his skirt. He's got some pretty heavy armor, a little bit of like cloak stuff. The swords look sick, dude. This guy looks like something straight out of Darksiders, in my opinion. This looks sick. So moving on to gameplay though, the most important part. To denote Mordred's conflicting and tumultuous past, we want to make it clear that our Mordred is a skilled combatant with a deadly goal. His heart is in his hand, almost literally, yes, it's the sword, as he charges into battle. Although Mordred may be ruthless, using his strength to push him forward, he still fights with precision and intelligence. Mordred has 2 different swords that he utilizes to drive forward his hybrid playstyle. Mordred is the key antagonist to King Arthur, and we wanted to play on that more deliberately in his actual gameplay. So, unique gameplay features. Mordred is a true hybrid fighter, and several abilities scale with either strength, intelligence, or both. Protection scaling is featured as a bonus scaling mechanism for one of his abilities. I like that a lot. Protection and max health scaling, I think, is a really great way to, you know, give tanks some leverage without just making the build loads of power. Not only abilities, but Mordred's basic attack chain has hybrid strength and intelligence scaling vary between his 2 different sword attacks. Okay, that's interesting. So basic attacks already do have hybrid scaling in Smite 2, where you have 100% of strength and 20% of int, but maybe, you know, if your first hit of the chain is with the big sword, it's going to have more strength scaling than normal and less int scaling. And then maybe you do like a couple of quick flourishes with a smaller sword that are more int heavy and less strength heavy, and then maybe like a final smash that's like all strength or something like that. A unique energy resource, Wrath, is gained over time and while fighting to gain access to an empowered ultimate. That is very reminiscent of King Arthur. They did say further up that they want to deliberately kind of tie these 2 characters in together because of how intertwined they are in the Arthurian lore. So yeah, very reminiscent of King Arthur's ultimate, you know, having to generate energy to get an access to an empowered ultimate. A passive that features a new interact feature of Smite 2, but designed to be used actively in combat, so not really too much information there, but obviously a Kate can kind of do this in terms of like buffing someone up that got a kill recently. An ability that provides a bonus component based on the current state of his basic attack chain, so yeah, maybe they're going a little bit harder on the basic attack elements for him. He's already got these, you know, basic attack chain with like different hybrid scalings and stuff like that. It'll probably have some kind of cleave in there. It'll probably end with a massive hit with the big sword. I feel like that would be a good way to go with it. And so maybe if he's about ready to do that massive hit and he casts one of his abilities, it has like an extra effect or something like that. A debuff that triggers on continuous movement, so maybe a little bit like Charon in a way, where you start taking damage if you're moving after you're hit by his one. And then finally, an empowered ultimate that allows Mordred to go through the world to hunt his prey. Okay, so maybe you get some kind of like Omega Ghost Walk where you can walk through walls. Or maybe less crazy than that, but maybe you just like straight up picks someone and just dashes all the way to them or something like that, but that's a bit too much like Chernobyl, I guess. We'll have to see how this turns out. Mordred's kit is designed to be hybrid in scaling, but also in playstyle. He was rewarded for playing into an ability-based gameplay loop and or for auto-attacking ruthlessly with his basic attacks. So yeah, it does seem like he's going to have some basic attack synergy going on for sure, and also some great ability-based damage. Yeah, definitely excited for this dude. Definitely excited for this. Hecate, I wasn't too excited about as the first new god coming to Smite 2. Honestly, I think with the redesign to her kit, she is pretty fun, but still, she's a mid-lane mage. That's not really my style. It seems like Mordred is definitely going to be a jungler and probably a solo laner as well, based on what we've seen from this. But yeah, Mordred is a unique brawler that fights in whichever way he prefers as long as he finds victory on the battlefield. Just keep swinging with his dual swords to gain an edge or press your advantage with his aggressive abilities. You can find success in both types of playstyles. Let the enemies feel your wrath and dominate the battleground with Mordred, Breaker of the Round Table. So that's going to be his title, Breaker of the Round Table. And here is a more sort of, can we zoom out a little bit here? That's close enough. There you go. That's going to be like the full Mordred card out there. So yeah, looking pretty sick. I'm very excited for this dude. Very excited to play some Mordred when the 24/7 alpha patch goes live. This is one of the more requested gods from me. What do you guys think? Do you think he looks cool? Excited for him? Let me know down below, and I'll catch you guys for another one later on. Have a great day, and peace out, you nerds.